We're going to call to order the Marion Common Council regular meeting, 7 p.m., May 21st. And we're going to begin with prayer from Mayor Ronald Morrell Jr.
Okay. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time here together in this room to handle the business of the city. I ask you to bless each and every one of us to make sound judgment and good decisions for the betterment of our people. Guide our minds, guide our hearts as we do what's best for our citizens, and give us the patience and the courage to be able to do what's right no matter what. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll begin with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane.
Aye. Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Fordyce.
Here.
Brunner. Klein.
Here.
Devine. Here. Witten.
Here.
Cowgill.
Here.
McKinley.
Here. Okay, we're going to move into the neighborhood spotlight, and today we are featuring the Marion High School Math Academic Super Bowl state champions, Nathaniel, I think it's Aguilia, Austin Farron, and Damian Martin. If you guys want to go ahead and come on up here. Come all the way up, and if you want to go around this way. Welcome. So which one are you? Because I haven't met you guys yet. What's your name?
I'm Austin.
Austin, nice to meet you. I'll go ahead and hold this banner up. So I'll say a little bit, but then Mr. Doug Porter, a legend at Marion Schools, is here as well. And if you don't mind, if you can kind of explain some more after I'm done. But I found out through social media that Marion High School has a new state champion, right? We're the city of champions. Everyone knows about basketball and all the other sports. But we have excellent academics at Marion High School, and we now have the Indiana Academic Super Bowl State Champions of 2024, and it was in math, right? And it was the three of you. Can you kind of tell me when was this, and what did you do to prepare?
Sure. Every year, the state of Indiana hosts academic competition. Purdue sponsors it. It's a different theme every year, different time period, whatever. And this year was the 1980s and 90s. For math, it doesn't make that much of a difference because math hasn't changed that much over the years. The other subjects, though, it does make a big difference. So anyway, we have a few competitions throughout the year. Then we have an area competition, and if we score high enough, we qualify for state. Very difficult to qualify for state. I've been doing this 29 years. This is the 7th time one of my teams qualified for state in math, but we've never won the big one. We never got to Purdue and never won state. We've been runner-up once. We've had a couple other subjects in past years, been runner-up, but we've never won the state title. And these guys, Austin and his teammates, which I'm not sure why they're not here tonight, but they're not. School's out for Nathaniel, so maybe that's why. Who knows? But anyway, what was interesting about these guys, what really makes them special is the area competition was April 16th, I believe, on a Tuesday. It's about 2.5 weeks before state. And some of my teams in the past, once they qualify for state, you kind of lay back a little bit, relax on your laurels. You think you've done what you wanted to do. But these guys, this was a really tough year in terms of the outline of the competition. Our scores weren't really too high going into area. And we scored well enough in area, but we still left some questions on the table. These guys, the day after area, we found out we were going to state. They started picking it up on their own, and more so than any team I've ever had before. I didn't have to tell them much at all. And they figured out what they needed to work on, and they got down to state at Purdue and just scored their highest score of the season with the toughest questions. So that's just a great accomplishment, attribute to Austin and Nathaniel and Damian. So proud of them. And we're going to get math put on the banner. I don't know why I didn't say. I don't know if they'll allow us to hang it in the gym with the basketball banners. I don't know. Or the state tennis banner that Martin was a part of and everything like that. But it is the first academic state championship of any kind in Marion High School. And we've worked a long time for it. And Austin loves math. He just loves math. And I'm so excited to see. I got him for one more year. And excited to see what his future holds because he's fun to have. And he's fun to coach and he's fun to teach. And he teaches others. And he's just a very humble guy. And just proud of Marion High School, what they allow us to do and encourage us. And yeah, great accomplishment.
Well, we appreciate you guiding them. Yes, absolutely. Austin, would you like to share anything? No? Okay. So the mayor's here, so I don't know, maybe at some point you guys get like a fire truck ride through town, you know, like the old days.
Mayor Morrell did come out to the high school to meet with us.
Yeah, I saw that,
It
yeah.
was nice, and the school board last week honored us, and so yeah.
We're just trying to give you as much recognition because this is a big deal, state championship. We're really proud of you. Thank you for coming tonight. Anything you want to share, though?
Porter really much said it all.
Okay, great. Yeah, he takes the words out. That's great.
Usually more talkative.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're in front of everyone. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah. And if any council members want to get in, we can take a quick picture. Would that be okay? Could somebody at the head table, Martin, Aisha, Debbie, take a picture? Unless a council member doesn't want to get in. Everyone's welcome to get in the picture. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a state championship. So who would like to do it? You're right in the middle, so you're in charge of the mic and the camera.
Too much faith in me, Nick.
Okay. There you go. Get Gary in the front.
All right, we see everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you. Awesome. Congratulations. Proud of you. Just do back-to-back next year, and we'll have you again, okay?
For sure.
Thank you. I'll roll this up for you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thanks for everything you do. There we go. Yes. You guys are welcome to stay or you're welcome to go home. Either way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. You guys take care. Okay. Anyways, there's a picture I did put up here of the other two gentlemen. So if anyone knows any of these other gentlemen that weren't here, make sure you send them a message or tell them congratulations. So, okay, moving on. We don't have anything under first responder spotlight, and we're going to move on to the approval of minutes.
I so move.
A motion for the minutes by Councilman Kane, second by Councilman Fordyce. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Abstain.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Minutes have been approved. Moving on to the consideration and ratification of pre-approved claims. I would entertain a motion.
I so move.
Motion by Councilman Kane, second by Councilman Klein. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein, Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. And moving on to consideration of claims. I would entertain a motion.
I so move.
Motion by Councilman Kane, second by Vice President Cowgill. Any discussion or questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein, Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Claims have been approved. Moving on to committee reports. Anyone have a committee report to share? Councilwoman Devine.
Let's see. Yesterday there was a Board of Public Works and Safety meeting. They opened the bids for the community crossings project and took those under advisement. I believe they were higher than anticipated. And so they wanted to look at them. They did have to take some of the sidewalks out, I believe, in order to bring it down to the $3 million, which was our match of $1.5 million, and then the $1.5 million from the state. And then Mr. McGrath, or Mike McGrath, said that can't even get the name right. Mike McGrath said that he had some additional money in his budget that he would be able to do some more. So I think the bids came in right at about just over 3 million, almost 3.1 million, all said and done, for the list that he presented originally. So that's going to get approved or reviewed, and then I will let you guys know when that gets done at the next meeting, is what they're hoping. The other item was from the police department, talking about specialized functions, SOP. One of the things that the chief is doing is trying to clean up some of the SOPs, the standardized operating procedures, and making sure that they're covering any possible issues that they could foresee. And I believe, I don't know if he was going to speak on that. He wasn't here. Yeah. So I don't know if that comes before us or if that's mainly the Board of Works position, but he was talking about some policies with some of the specialized positions and how they fall within seniority and how scheduling and so forth is. So all good stuff to help organize the department. Then I went to the Marion Utilities board meeting last week. They talked and gave updates on the SRF funds and the projects. There's been some pre-construction meetings, a couple more that are still to be scheduled. Hoping to get those started fairly quickly. And it looks like to do the meter change out to the automated meters, they're hoping to start that the second week of July. The other projects, I didn't hear any start dates specifically yet, but I imagine those will be coming up here pretty quick. They also looked at bid approvals for a couple of budgeted projects. Those bids came in and they were tabled to allow them to review. I believe that they all were over the original engineering budget, so they wanted to look at them and figure out where some cost savings may be and where they could work on those. So those projects were the South Adams Storm Sewer, 37th and Nebraska Street Storm Sewer, and then then they were looking to do a biosolids dewatering study so that they could look for a project and get an engineering estimate for that. And then the other part that they touched on a little bit, but since they touched on it mainly the meeting before, was on the utility rate, the increase that they're bringing to us tonight for the solid waste.
Thank you, Councilwoman Devine. Any other committee reports?
Mr. President, the Rules Committee did meet tonight prior to the City Council meeting. Then we met at 5:30. The Rules Committee consists of myself as chair, Mr. Cowgill, and Mr. McKinley. There was also other members that you see here are also present that we had a good discussion on how the agenda takes place, how it's formed. I won't go into a lot of detail because we're going to come up with a second draft and have a second meeting. We also discussed order of business, probably tweaking that slightly. And we also came up with some decorum to have the council and audience follow. But I'll have a follow-up meeting, and I'll be calling that meeting and have further updates on the Rules Committee on how this council is run on the agenda items at a later date. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other committee or liaison reports? Yeah, I'll give an update. I had a Growth Council board meeting this morning. A few updates on the Grant County Growth Council. As far as their location, it's been a discussion for a while about possibly moving the Growth Council. And as of right now, we will be moving the Growth Council into the Star Bank location downtown. This is kind of we'll call it an interim. They have that Star Bank downtown. When you walk in to the right, there's just this whole section that's divided that is unused. And they are going to give it or rent it to the Growth Council at a very, very fair rate. I don't remember off the top of my head. Very nice professional looking space. The current location they've been in for a long time, just kind of outgrown that in a way. And the long-term goal is to have a hub type setup somewhere downtown. They're looking at a location right now to possibly have a hub where we bring in all these different nonprofits, whether it's the Visitors Bureau, Growth Council, all those types of organizations into one building. So it creates more collaboration and lowers the overhead and expenses that each organization incurs. So that's kind of the long term. That's hopefully maybe in the next year or so, or year or two. But the Growth Council, probably in the next month or two, is going to be moving into the downtown Star location. So we're really excited about that. And also, the Growth Council is going to have a local elected officials dinner on May 29th. It's going to be located in the second floor of IMG on State Road 18. So everyone here, all local elected officials are invited. If you're interested, let me know. I can get you the link to register on Eventbrite. Again, that's May 29th. I believe it's 6 to 8 p.m. Could be off a half hour there, but it's in the evening. And they're planning on having 2 more later this year for local elected officials. That's it. That's all I have on the Growth Council. Anyone have anything else? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to unfinished business and appropriation ordinance 12-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the City of Marion appropriating certain funds for the City of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof, from the general fund to miscellaneous contractual services, the amount of $126,384.37 for Capital One lease. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell.
Good evening again, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. We have some great things on the agenda. So what this is, and I might be able to try something. I might be able to hack your TV, Nick. If you disconnect, I can put this up there so people, the public, can see what we're going to be. Yep. So if you take your computer off, I think I can hack right into it. What's the name of the 9?
98S. Don't worry, that's not a confidential code. It's not.
So
really not.
this is cool, by the way. This is the lease that was signed back in March 2nd, 2011, and we've been paying $126,000 every year towards this. And what I would like to do is, move forward and make this payment this year, and then later on in the council agenda, I want to propose that we finish this off and pay the lease off and save the city some money.
Anyone have any questions? Councilman Fordyce?
Mayor, could you elaborate for the public and the citizens just exactly how much you're going to save the city and taxpayers on paying this off?
This will save us roughly about $9,000.
Any other questions before I go to the public hearing? Okay, we're going to open the public hearing up. If you would like to speak, make your way to the podium, name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Seeing no one come to the podium, we'll go and close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 12, 2024. Let me suspend the rules on that. Sorry. Suspend the rules on appropriation ordinance number 12, 2024.
Second.
So a motion to suspend the rules by Councilman Kane, a second by Vice President Calgill. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 12, 2024.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Kane, a second by Councilman Fordice. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordice,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation Ordinance 12-2024 has passed. Moving on to General Ordinance 9-2024, second reading and public hearing.
An ordinance of the City of Marion fixing the maximum salary of appointed officers and employees, adding a civilian assistant to the Criminal Investigation Division for Marion Police Department. Speaking, Police Chief David Gilbert.
Mr. President, members of the council, I appreciate hearing me, talking to me tonight. I'd like to, before we get into the business, I'd like to make an announcement that my 2 beautiful twin granddaughters are in the room, expanding their knowledge of civics and city government. Andrea and Kerrigan Gilbert. Stand up, ladies.
Stand up. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. So listen, be gentle tonight. Don't rake me over the coals in front of my grandkids. I'm here, as was just announced, to discuss in public hearing any of the questions you might have in the public about the matter that's on the agenda, creating this position and funding it. I'd also request formally that you suspend the rules and consider passing this tonight at second reading. So I'll answer any questions you have.
Any council members have any questions? Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe because it's a public hearing, start from step 1 so everybody here knows what we're voting on and what you're talking about, would you?
I'll try to be briefer than I was before. Yeah, second reading. You had your crack. This is the creation. We've gone to the Board of Works to create a position that is called the Civilian Assistant to the Criminal Investigations Division. We foresee manning this with a veteran police officer we've spent a lot of money training. That's our best desire. We want to have someone who's qualified to do that. We're going to ask that person to be what I've equated to kind of a utility player if you're a baseball fan, just a person in a civilian capacity, not a police officer, paying at the rate of a civilian, which is cheaper than a police officer, doing any number of things, helping train canines, helping train our SWAT officers, doing follow-up investigations, handling all the calls on what we call walk-ins, people coming into the front desk, handling those calls so we don't have to have a district car come in, helping train rookies, any number of things that a veteran officer might do, but we're going to have that done by a civilian, thereby freeing up a police officer to stay on the street, which is where I think the taxpayers expect their police officers to be, on the street rather than on station. We intend to do that. We've gone to the Board of Works with a job description, which is their area of responsibility. They've agreed that this is a good idea. They passed, they voted to create the position, which is their responsibility, and now I'm here with you to ask you to fund it in effect. If we do this, we'll be spending much less money than we would have to pay a police officer who will likely fill the position.
Thank you, Chief. No other questions. We're going to open it to public hearing. So if you would like to come and speak, make your way to the podium. I don't see anyone making their way to the podium. So we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to suspend the rules on general ordinance number 9/2024.
Motion to suspend the rules by Vice President Calgill. There was a second by Councilman Klein. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Rules have been suspended. I would entertain another motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we pass general ordinance 9/2024.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice President Calgill, second by Councilman Kane. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. General Ordinance 9-2024 has passed. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Very much.
Appreciate it.
Moving on to new business and appropriation ordinance 13-2024, first reading.
An ordinance of the City of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the City of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof. From the general fund, the amount of $243,887.04 to Board of Works miscellaneous contractual services. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell, Jr.
This is again regarding the paying off the loan with Capital One, and this would be the remaining balance to finish paying it off.
So thank you. And just to clarify, Councilman Fordyce's question, the exact amount to save on interest is $8,881.50.
Which I will add, that'll let me tear a house down, by the way.
It's a good plug.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right, with no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 13, 2024 to a second reading and public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kane to move it to second reading, public hearing, second by Councilman Witten. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 13-2024 will go to second reading, public hearing at the next meeting. Moving on to appropriation ordinance 14-2024, first reading.
An ordinance of the City of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the City of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof. The amount of $165,000 from the edit fund to Park Fitness Court. Speaking, Mayor Ronald Morrell, Jr.
Councilman McKinley, can I hack you one more time?
Of course.
This one looks cool though. So. Well, maybe. Here we go.
Faith.
So this project is really personal for me. I shared this with all the council members, but I'll share it again because that's how important this is. So last July, in the middle of the campaign, I had ended up getting rushed to the emergency room and getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. My sugar was at like 500, which was insane, right? And upon this, so I got healthy, don't have to take any more medicine, got my life corrected around. But I began to do research while I was, going through this, and I came across a couple stats, and I'm glad I sent to all the council members, but I'll be glad to share with anyone, is that in the state, this county is in the top for the obesity rate in the whole entire state. And Marion specifically is at the top rate of obesity, which is causing a stress on our employment basis, in the hospitals, etc. So I think that we now have a duty to do everything that we can to provide fitness at an affordable rate, and in this case, free for the citizens, to encourage health and well-being for all of our citizens. So what this campaign is the National Fitness Campaign, and what you see on the screen now is the style that we will be getting. Minus the artwork you see that is contracted to a local artist, so it'll be customized to Marion. But the Zumba studio, Zumba yoga, etc. in the rear, and on the other side, let me see if I can. This is what the other side looks like. If you ever drive over to one of our neighboring cities, they have this version, the small one, but we're going to get the bigger one. So, yeah. So this will be going down at Charles Park, and let me see. I might be able to find that. Hold on, really quick. I might be able to find if I can see this. Our engineer Mike Graff kind of drew this up for us. So this is the basketball court, and then a parking lot, and then when you see the red, that is where the outdoor fitness court would be. So we were awarded a grant. So let me go to the total cost of this now. If anybody's interested in this presentation, I can send it as well. The one on the left is the one we're going to do, and that's the total cost. So what I'm asking for tonight is the $165,000. We got a $30,000 grant from the company. Yes, from the company, and as well, and for the remaining money, actually tomorrow we launch a crowdfunding campaign where the state of Indiana is going to match us up to $50,000 for everything that we raise. So, the name of the state agency that's funding this is leaving my brain at the moment, but they realize when we apply for fitness that this is an important thing to do, and not just our county and our city, but the whole state of Indiana is not at the top for health. Right, so this investment from our city standpoint is really, in my opinion, is paramount. And then what I did learn from Councilman Klein, I guess he's my historian in these, is Meadow Park did used to have like fitness stations along the walkway a couple lifetimes ago. So what this is going to be now, instead of having the stations along the walkway, this will be one hub that will be able to attract all of the exercise in one space.
Councilman Klein, congratulations on being 2 lifetimes old.
That's definitely not what I meant.
Can you make sure that one's in the minutes, please? Put that in the minutes.
Strike that.
So Mayor, when we've talked about it, you had said there are already some physical fitness trainers that are interested in using this. Can you elaborate on that?
Both the YMCA and the Josh Feinstein and Feinstein Fitness had to write support letters for us to get the grants this far. So the YMCA is actually planning to walk people down and do exercise from their facility out there. And Josh Feinstein is planning to do the same thing as well. So this is something that, and again, doing history, Feinstein Fitness tried to do this, I think, in 2019. And we didn't pull it off. So now here we are these years later, and I think we're in a position to really do something great for the community.
I have another question. On there, it says that's based on the average concrete cost of $40,000. Have we had that actually quoted out, or do we know the actual estimate on that?
Mike Graff had a contract locally and came to like 43. So it's right in the range.
Go ahead. Yeah, any other questions?
So the ask is for 165, is that right?
Correct.
So I'm trying to understand with what you presented us, what's the true cost? Is it 195?
237,500.
Okay, so how are we paying for the remainder?
The grant that launches tomorrow will cover the rest.
Okay. But you said 32,000? I thought you just said 32,000.
No, the grant that launches tomorrow is 100,000 total. So
Okay.
they will match up. So we raise 50, they match 50, so then they'll get all 100,000. And I've already got 35,000 committed. Just got to wait for it to launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure I understood.
And just for clarity, are you going to be coming back to the council asking for any more money for this project, or is it the rest of it's funded elsewhere?
Yeah, that's already complete. Yeah, this will be the last ask for this project.
And then I noticed when you showed the drawings, you were also looking at the basketball court in that same park. That's already, the basketball court updates have already been approved in a different ask, or?
Yes, that was when I think probably about a month or so ago, I did an ad when I had a big, this $700,000 ask. Part of that was in Charles Park, and Mike Graff already had some money in his budget to be able to do the little bit of paving and concrete that comes with the basketball court.
Another question, maybe this is for our controller, Dana. What is the current amount we have in the edit fund right now? Do we know the current balance?
Why? I've come prepared. So, current cash in the edit fund is $1,542,000.60. I mean, $1,542,060.56. We currently have $1,234,965.17 appropriated, leaving us with a balance of $307,095.39. In the remainder of this year, we will collect another $854,152.25, accruing at $122,021.75 a month. Let's do one more time. Okay. One more time. So, current cash in the edit fund: $1,542,060.56. Through different asks, we've already appropriated $1,234,965.17 through the other asks that we've done over the course of this. We just haven't, all the projects haven't been completed, so we haven't spent all that money. Leaving us with a current balance that is not appropriated of $307,095.39. For the remainder of this year, June through December, we'll get an edit fund allotment sent to us of $122,021.75 per month, adding up to a total of $854,152.25. If we spend no more dollars out of the edit fund for the remainder of this year, we will finish with $1,161,247.64.
Keep in mind, so a lot of the edit fund we approved was last year's edit fund as well. So we're accruing that 300 and some thousand basically is what's been accruing since our last approval.
And by the time we run through this meeting and the second reading, public hearing, and possibly a third, we'll have another payment of $122,000.
Any other questions? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass appropriation ordinance number 14, 2024 to second reading and public hearing.
Second.
We had a motion by Councilman Kane. I did hear a second, first by Councilman Klein. Sorry, Kane and Klein sometimes. One other question, I guess, real quick, is the timeline on this, the installation. When would this project be completed if everything goes the way you want it?
Let's see. That's the wrong. It's August.
It's approximate.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there's already a construction timeline on it, but I can't find it. But it's in August.
Thank you. I just want to know if we'd be able to use it this summer, if it'd be like end of the
No,
fall.
definitely. We'll
Okay.
get this year, yeah.
Great. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten, Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 14-2024 has been approved. Moving to second reading, public hearing at the next meeting. And moving on to appropriation ordinance 15-2024, first reading.
An ordinance of the city of Marion, Indiana, appropriating certain funds for the city of Marion, Indiana, and providing for the effective date thereof, the amount of $6,497.07 from the ARPA fund for legal fees. Speaking, Mayor Ron Morrell Jr.
I try to be as risk averse as possible, and was an insurance policy for us. So we invited Baker Tilly, which is a financial consulting firm, and Barnes and Thornburg, which is a law firm, and they sent their specialists surrounding ARPA expenditures. So this has been around for a long time. Well, since the funds were released, so the firms have now dedicated specialists to this money because other cities have made mistakes, and I don't want us to be one of those. So this is the fee that they charged us to be able to assure that we spent the money correctly when we send it into the fund that's called it's leaving my brain. What's the fund called? We put the money to revenue loss. Yeah, revenue replacement. Yeah.
Any other questions or any questions at all? Councilman?
Yeah, we talked about this, and I'm not opposed to getting advice and paying for it. That's not my issue. My issue is the source. I mean, you just saved us $8,000. We could use that. But once ARPA money is spent, it's gone. And I would rather, we got to pay it. That's not the issue. I would like to see this come from a renewable source, not nickel and dime ARP. And I don't mean that as I'm not insulted, because we needed the advice. You did the right thing. But once we spend ARPA money, it's gone. Find another source is my thought.
I have a question for you, Councilman. Any suggestions on source? I'm open.
Well, when we talked, I said edit. When we talked in the mayor's office, I suggested edit. We got 8,000 we're not going to be spending from the general fund, so there's that. So yeah, I had there are a couple ideas. And I don't know what our legal services budget is like. I honestly can't tell you that. But once we spend ARPA, not coming back.
Any other questions? Or Mayor, would you like to give a thought on that as far as where it's coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too offended either way. I think it was the right thing to do. We got this advice to pay for it. So if it needs to come from ARPA general fund or edit fund, I'm okay. My choice was to bring it out of the ARPA fund because that's what we specifically hired someone for, was to advise us regarding the ARPA fund. So that's why I decided to present it as so. But if it's mutually agreed on to pull it from somewhere else, I'm okay.
Mr. President?
Yeah, go ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Klein. I totally agree with that. We take it out of the edit fund. It's for development. This is development, or part of development, and securing our funds and make sure they're spent right. So I would agree with that. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I understand your point totally and clearly, but I debated this and I talked to the mayor on it also, and I also talked to Marty, and I went through the federal guidelines and rules to see if ARPA money could be used on Baker Tilly and Barnes Thornburg. And since they advised us on ARPA money, I think it should come out of ARPA instead of taking it out of our budgeted amount that we have for 2024. To me, that makes sense. because it's a one-time shot from ARPA, and instead of depleting our general fund or edit fund, that's what this money is used for, and that's what we hired these consultants for. Just my opinion. And I did check on it legally because I wasn't sure if we could use the ARPA fund to pay consultants and attorneys, but went over it with Marty and we looked it up and we can. So that was a specific use for it. So that's my opinion on it.
Any other questions? Discussion?
If we are all mutually with the mayor, everybody is agreeing on another fund, if that's what it's gonna be, can we just change the fund tonight and still do it tonight? Or would that have to be as far as like amendment, just, okay.
We would have to start over.
Yeah, it's a separate appropriation order. You have to give different notice.
That's what I'm saying, for the post. Yeah, public notice. My opinion on this is it's noted. I mean, I have a couple bank accounts, and if I pull from one, I'm going to transfer to the other, or I don't know. I just feel like that we're going to use the money for what we need to use for. I was in, I believe, one or two of the meetings that involved this consultation, and it was specifically for ARPA. I lean towards using the money out of ARPA just because it was consultation for ARPA. But again, if we don't say there's something we can't do out of ARPA because we spend $6,400, I don't think we can't necessarily pull it from the edit fund to do it or some other project. So I lean to just keeping the way it is and pulling it out of ARPA. And if we were talking 60,000 or a bigger chunk, I think it'd be a heavier discussion, but 6,400 out of that, I say we keep it the way it is. It's my opinion. Any other questions or discussion? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we pass appropriation ordinance 15/2024 to second reading, public hearing.
Second.
A motion by Vice President Calgill, a second by Councilman Marshall. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
No.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
No.
Divine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Appropriation ordinance 15-2024 will go to a second reading, public hearing at the next meeting. Moving on to general ordinance 10-2024, first reading.
An ordinance amending and restating general ordinance number 14/2014 concerning the waste disposal fees for the city of Marion. Speaking Utility Director Robin Schrader.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you for allowing us to share tonight. 10 years ago, Marion Utilities assumed responsibility for administering the final year of the solid waste contract, which had previously been established between the City of Marion and Republic Services. The proposed rate at that time was $13.80. In the last year of that contract, the utility conducted a feasibility study to determine if we could create a solid waste utility and collect the trash for ourselves. The end result, as you know, is that we chose to do that. We purchased 5 trucks, we hired 5 additional utility workers, and we gave a promise of maintaining that rate of $13.80 for about 4 to 5 years. Those years passed, followed by COVID, then a national economic situation that dramatically changed operating costs for us. And Marion Utilities still provided the same quality of service for the same $13.80. Now, 10 years later, we're still operating with that same rate structure, despite a very different economic scene and significant increases in trash quantities that we're managing. In 2014, the population of Marion was approximately 29,100. while the report for 2023 was 27,900. That's about a 4% population decline. Meanwhile, the annual totals of waste collected have increased significantly. The first year we began the collection process, we sent 8,102 tons of waste to the landfill. And in 2023, our total was 11,169 tons. That's an increase of nearly 38%. We've also added 3 more full-time employees, 3 part-time employees, periodic temps, and 4 more vehicles to ensure that we are continuing to provide the quality service to the city of Marion. Regarding finances, there has been a slight increase in income, but there's been a significant increase in expenses. In 2018, expenses first exceeded our income by a small margin, but steadily since 2020, the gap has been widening. In 2022, we exhausted all remaining cash reserves, forcing us to begin borrowing from other utilities. Last year in March, the wastewater utility loaned solid waste $250,000. And just 2 months ago, stormwater funded a loan for $260,000. That's a reasonable temporary assist, but transfers from one utility to another mean corners have to be cut elsewhere, such as preventative maintenance procedures or capital improvement projects. On the upside of things, those of you who remember what trash collection was like prior to 2016 will recall there were no toters. Trash would be missed or left piled up for long periods, and large items were quite difficult to deal with. These are things that add tremendous value, but which are difficult to quantify with a dollar amount. Marion Utilities has attempted to improve the overall trash experience by offering not only the residential pickup, but periodically making roll-off boxes for neighborhood association cleanup initiatives available, assisting ADA customers, supplying toters and roll-off boxes for other community events, offering 1 free large item pickup monthly, providing additional large item pickup for a minimal charge, allowing residential equivalent small businesses to opt in, regularly receiving waste collected by the Sheriff's Department, Parks, and City for no additional charge to the community, and receiving materials such as construction and demolition waste delivered directly to our facility. Details for each of these services can be found on our website under solid waste rates or by calling our local customer service personnel. And all of the things, by the way, that I've just mentioned, I do have some packets with the charts and graphs. If the public would like any, they're behind me here. In order to be thorough in our examination, I'll also share how our rates compare to what's happening in some other areas. That can be tricky because everyone handles extra toters, large items, recycling, community cleanups, etc. a little bit differently. And as I've just told you or reminded you, we at Marion Utilities are offering 1 Marks toter, an allowance for an additional toter within the same monthly fee, and 1 free large item pickup per month for that $13.80 charge. And as was already stated, this price also allows neighborhood associations, the Sheriff's Department, City and Parks to assist with ongoing community cleanup efforts. In Upland, whose service provider is Best Way Equipment, the first toter has a monthly fee of $19.15 with an additional quarterly fee of $4 for a second. Large item pickup carries no additional cost. Gas City uses Republic Services for a charge of $15.46 for up to 2 toters, but they do not allow any free large item pickup. They do have a citywide cleanup once a year, and participants must provide proof of residency. The City of Elwood Street Department is responsible for Elwood's trash service. They charge $14 a month per toter with no large item pickup and a weekly recycling pickup option. Residents are allowed to transport large items themselves to a dumpster at the street department for no additional charge, but this strictly excludes landlords. Carmel uses Republic Services. Their current rate is $14.70 a month for the first toter, with additional toters available for another $6.75 a month. Bulky item pickup is available at a cost of $20 per item. However, Carmel also shared that Republic Services will be increasing their monthly base charge by approximately 4.4% annually through 2030. If Marion Utilities did return to a third-party contractor, such as Republic Services, The quote would likely be lower than what we can currently offer, but there would be no opportunity for controlling the frequency or dollar value of rate increases, accounting for additional surcharges or environmental fees, or ensuring the city is properly maintained to current standards. So all things considered, I believe our rates have been and will continue to be competitive. So after analyzing the increase in waste collected and hauled, considering the number of additional trips that we've needed to make to the landfill, the increase in operating costs, the annual cost of living increases requiring additional resources to find and maintain quality personnel, and the uncalculated value of making sure our city stays clean, we have determined that a rate increase is necessary. In order to accomplish this and avoid operating at a deficit, we would like to ask the City Council to consider approving a new monthly service charge of $22.80 to be made effective August 1st later this year. If this can be done, and assuming our economic situation holds on its current trajectory, the utility financial advisors at Crow believe we should be able to operate successfully without additional increases for approximately 3 years. It is the desire of Marion Utilities to continue providing this quality service to our community, but we need your help. Thank you for considering our request.
Thank you very much, and thank you for providing that information. Obviously, a topic that is always difficult. Do you have a question? We did have a discussion ahead of time, just because I had questions on some of the data. Do you know what's contributing to this increase, this huge increase in trash? Do you guys know?
Well, it'd be a little bit of speculation, but with COVID coming and going, purchasing methods have changed a lot. I don't know about you, but I got home this afternoon and there were 2 large boxes on my porch. People are ordering more things, DoorDash, that sort of thing, and we're generating more garbage. Unfortunately, the other part of that, there's a reality that there could be things coming from outside of our community that's being delivered directly to the transfer station. Now, those are being accounted for by separate payments, but that could also be a contributing factor.
Another question that we discussed, and I'd like to bring it out in the public, is not to be critical. I know you just assumed this role, so congratulations. And I know Chuck did a phenomenal job, but why did it take us this long to get here, and why have we been operating in a negative for the last couple of years?
That's a great question. Of course, COVID kind of put a kink in a lot of things, and then on the recovery side of that, discussions were actually begun back in 2022. We did a rate analysis at that time, but they were postponed in the interest of some other political matters.
Okay.
I wasn't part of those discussions, but it's my understanding that there was concern on the part of some of the city council about some upcoming elections, and there may have been some other things, but again, I wasn't part of those discussions.
I appreciate you being honest, or at least from what you know. I wasn't on the council, so I don't know. It just concerns me. We went 9 years, or what? How long is that? And we didn't have a rate adjustment or a look. The discussion I did have with her was, how do we prevent this in the future? And she did discuss about at least every 3 years doing an analysis and just seeing if we can do this in better increments moving forward in the future. But I'll leave it there for anyone else have questions. I know probably some of you do.
Robin, congratulations on your new position. I feel sorry for you to have to bring this to us in the first.
I appreciate that.
Getting it out of the way.
I'm gonna try to be as compassionate as I can.
Rip the Band-Aid.
But anyhow, is this increase, and I understand the increase in the tonnage on solid waste, I truthfully do. And you're right, we do get a lot from outside. And I know you try to charge some fees for that at your station down there when people bring that in. Whether it's adequate or not, I don't know, And the other question I would have is, does the increase have to be all this amount at one time just to get you back in the black. I mean, you've done the calculations, I'm sure, on your tonnage and your trucks, and I know your trucks are how many years old. You've got to upkeep those. And I know this fee is a lot less expensive than a lot of the county fees because I have customers in the county and I've talked to them. But is this going to be adequate to keep you for 3 years, like you say? This is going to maintain until 2027, and we won't have to do this again. Because I know people don't want you to operate in the red. Everybody wants you in the black. We don't want our water to go away, and we don't want our trash service to go away, and our sewage to go away. But I just want to make sure and that the public knows that this is just 100%, that we have to do this because we've been operating in the red. And with COVID, we have held off on it. I'm not going to give them the excuse of a political agenda because I understand that why it wasn't brought to us, but that's neither here nor there. But this is the bare minimum that we can get by with.
That's my understanding. Our associates at Crow have done quite a few rate study analysis for us here recently. Of course, they've been busy with a couple years ago as we started into the water rate increase, and we feel confident in their abilities to look at that then. And we feel confident in their abilities to look at this now. Of course, nothing's 100% guaranteed, but we did take into consideration economics trending the way that they currently are. And so if that does in fact stay the same, we should be okay for the next 3 years. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations again. We've talked before this and with the rates and everything, and nobody likes a rate increase. I mean, but yet we're all going to pay it. I understand. I mean, you guys been, like Councilman Ford, I said, you guys have been operating, at a loss for a number of years. You can't do that. There's no business. None of us, if we owned a business, would operate negatively and keep going because you can't do that. So I understand the rate increase. You guys do a great job. I mean, with our sewage, our solid waste pickup, everything. I don't like it any more than the other guy, but I do understand it. I agree with you.
Robin, can you clarify? You did say the new monthly, but what's the difference between current and what you're projecting for August 1st?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It would be a $9 increase.
A flat
$9 increase from $13.80 to $22.80. Correct.
And I know, Robin, that we had talked a couple times about splitting this out over a period of time. And by doing that, you would continue to operate in the red until this full amount was brought. But then would we be looking at incremental increases sooner than 3 years? So we would, if we had split it up, say, I think originally it was either over 2 amounts or 3 amounts. At the end of that 3-year amount, when we finally got the $9 in, then it would take that much longer again to recoup that money to bring you back up into the black.
Yeah, that's correct. The longer we hold out on this, the more urgent the situation will become. And we did discuss the possibility of phasing it in. Obviously, the $9 in one shot is our best case scenario for getting us as quickly as possible back into the black. And again, if we did do the phasing situation, we would probably be looking at an increase immediately following that going forward. We would just have to do another evaluation of that.
And I think one of the other things we talked about, different ways of recouping that money in other ways, whether it be charging for the second toter, charging for those instead of doing the free large item pickups, charging for those. So I know that you've analyzed that and looked at those options as well. But with this is putting you in a capital improvement slot where you will then be able to do your replacements as scheduled versus doing, I don't want to say nickel and diming, but doing those smaller repairs versus a continuous process of making sure our equipment's up and running and that we have the right equipment for what we need.
Yeah, that's correct. And unfortunately, this equipment, even though most of it doesn't leave town, the number of miles put on these vehicles is pretty tremendous, given what they do on a daily basis. In conjunction with that, the hydraulic arms and those other things, a lot of moving parts to take care of and upkeep. So yes, there's a lot to that.
I'd like to add in our discussions about just moving forward, educating the public better on what services they have with solid waste. I learned a couple years ago you can have two toters, so I have two toters. So I apologize. Some of that tonnage probably came from me, having a big household of kids and boxes arriving on a daily. So having those two toters is really nice, since I don't have to stack my trash all the way high anymore. But also the discussion about the large item pickup we talked about with the coming of the Marion app that the mayor has been doing beta testing, and I've also been testing as well. I fully anticipate these curb requests increasing because it'll be more convenient now once we have the app running. I know it'll be a lot easier for me and others. And when you have the app, we can actually have a disclaimer that says, put it in the front of your house, not in the alley, because they can't pick it up in the alley. And so utilizing this discussion also to talk about all the services they get on top of just getting one toter tilted every week for them. So I think once this app goes live, unfortunately that could increase operating expenses as well, but might go right along with that Clean City 2.0 the mayor's been pushing. I'm always hesitant to raise anything, whether it's a fee or a tax, and really don't like it at all. But if the data is the data, then we can't argue with that, and we want you to continue to operate not in the red. Any other discussion or questions? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we pass General Ordinance number 10, 2024 on to second reading, public hearing.
I have a motion by Vice President Calgill, a second by Councilman Klein. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes, General Ordinance 10-2024 will move to a second reading public hearing at the next meeting. Moving on to the next agenda item, approval of CF1 forms for tax abatements. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to table that to the compliance committee that Councilman Klein is the chair of. I will, for those that aren't already aware, have been kind of reevaluating that process this year, and been working with the Growth Council to hopefully maybe next year streamline this process. And during that committee meeting, I would like to invite Chuck Binkert, who's the new executive director there, as well as Jacob Everett, who's the interim director, to that meeting, because Jacob Everett brings a lot of expertise in those CF1 forms, and I think we could learn a lot about that. And it allows Chuck to kind of learn those forms, learn the process, and essentially we're funding the Growth Council, and they are all on board to assisting with us in the future next year, to the point where they almost just come in and tell us what's good, what's not. I will say in this process of looking at CF1 forms and talking to those that have submitted it, I would say probably at least 50% of them have admitted they have no clue how to fill these out. And so then we get them and they're missing data, not signed. And so some of it's just educating, and I really don't want our committee having to chase this every year. So while I think it's necessary this year to have the committee meeting to kind of flush this out, my end goal is to not have to spend so much time chasing CF1 forms. And for those that aren't aware, that's for people to request to renew their tax abatement that they have that originally got approved. So they have to do an annual renewal for that. to continue getting that tax abatement through the county. So that is going to be tabled. Councilman Klein will notify everyone when that will be. And the request is to not have it right before a council meeting. So maybe a day that's separate from a council meeting. Hopefully here, we do kind of have a timetable. The county does want those in a reasonable amount of time because they have to process the tax rolls. So hopefully maybe we can get that scheduled before our next council meeting. But I'll let Mr. Klein kind of coordinate and schedule that. I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything for the good of the order? Actually, one last thing is the video camera system in here. I know I said last meeting, we're almost there. We're almost there. Again, I had to make some tweaks on the budget or on the proposal. There was one item that they forgot to add to the final proposal, piece of hardware and some verbiage changes. And probably going to have that in the next couple days to sign, and we'll move forward and hopefully get a timeline of implementation. So that in the future, these YouTube streaming meetings that people at home can see exactly what you're seeing on the TV behind us. And I think we can further utilize this technology to help disseminate information. That's all I have. Anyone else? Okay, to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, I have a motion by Councilman Fordyce for sure. Who was the second over here? Councilwoman Devine. Any other discussion? Great. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Kane,
Aye.
Marshall,
Aye.
Fordyce,
Aye.
Klein,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Cowgill,
Aye.
McKinley.
Yes. Meeting's adjourned. Oh.
I think, guys, hold on. I didn't get a chance.
Well,
I was busy, okay?
well, that's important.
Well, I was in the middle of talking. I couldn't. Hey, I did it all night tonight.
Throw us under the bus.